So hand on the heart, deep breath. That relationship, the safety, to work through it, to understand all the information that you had in the past, because you're creating something new, right? You have a certain pattern that we follow, and then, oh shoot, look what happened here. Well, how do we bring ourselves back?
Welcome back to Sessions from the Edge, where we try to decode chronic illness from the perspective of a titan. And each month, I go down the track of talking to three different types of people. On the one hand, we've got titans who are managing a chronic condition. On the other, we have carers supporting the patient. And then I also talk to functional health professionals supporting the other two. And when we talk about chronic illness, we usually focus on the individual, the titan in the arena, so the carer or the patient or the functional health professional. But a diagnosis never just lands on one person. It lands on a relationship, often acting like a third party that disrupts every conversation and drains every shared resource. So today, I'm joined by Ken Hyra. Ken works at the intersection of relational health and long-term illness, helping couples navigate the reactive communication that so often takes over when life becomes a constant cycle of management and exhaustion. So Ken, welcome to Sessions from the Edge, and really looking forward to this conversation.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And man, see how this goes. This is the first time for me, so thank you.
Yeah, great. Well, so basically, how this works is that we talk about chronic illness from the perspective I was just talking about, and you're a relationship counsellor. So first up, I'd like to talk about that invisible third party. And when a diagnosis enters a marriage, it often acts like an uninvited third party. So how can a couple begin to decode which parts of their discussions are actually personal conflict and which parts are the chronic condition getting involved?
The way I approach things in what I do is once I find out that there is a chronic illness within the relationship, it's separating the two individuals and meeting them one-on-one, because sometimes the individual who has the chronic illness is not forthcoming. I mean, there's a lot of emotions and things of that nature as a couple, right? And it's a matter of getting to where the person is in the relationship. And it has to be done individually, I think, anyway, from my experience. It's not a matter of, hey, let's get together and figure this out. No, because sometimes there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of anger in respect to the person with the illness who may be, angry that this is happening to them, and lack of a better word, it's going to suck to have the relationship go a different route. And then the person who's doesn't have it is in now a caregiving situation, and how are they with that situation? So initially, meeting each other individually, getting each person's perspective, and then slowly bringing them together using nervous system regulation, really, and values. And I mean, it's easy right now to say, well, this, and this. It takes time. It's a long process. Even parsing out the information and the feelings and everything else that goes with it takes a while. It's not like, oh, well, this is all I have to do. I just have to list exactly how I'm feeling. I'll just write it down here. Yeah, think that. Okay, then, okay, what's the other person feeling? No, it's unfortunately a long process.
Yeah.
And sometimes it brings a couple together closer because it brings up things that they may not have discussed in the past in regard to feelings and roles in the relationship and things of that nature. So it's quite a complicated matter, I think.
It is, and it's not linear either, because, it goes off in different directions, and quite often that third party, the chronic illness, has its say in the matter in terms of which way it's heading. I mean, I've had that from personal experience with cancer and now with heart disease. And thankfully, I've got a fantastic partner. I've been married to my wife now for 33 years, I think,
Cool.
thereabouts.
Very good.
And we have grown through the experience, but I know that's not necessarily the case in a lot of instances. So how can a couple begin to decode which parts of their conflict are actually them and which parts are the condition? I mean, it's a long process, sure, but chronic illness doesn't wait, and neither does the tension either.
No. And it's looking within yourself, and actually, it's essentially a trauma that's occurring within yourself, what internally, and then from a psychological standpoint as well, right? You have the physical trauma of whatever it may be, and then the psychological aspect of, what do I do with this? Like, it's just so immediate. Lack of a grounding is the word that comes to my mind, and I'm just trying to reflect back to sessions, and even with myself too. Myself with receiving diagnosis and so cancer for myself as well, and then watching my mom take care of my dad, my stepdad, who had heart attack, and so she had to be the caregiver. So it's grounding. It's getting to the spot where you go through all the emotions, the anger, the sadness, the what's going on, and then talking to myself or whomever to get a sense of where you are. Okay, what's happening in my body? I know this is a fact, this is a fact, this is a fact. My brain is not a factual thing. It's based on representations of the way I grew up, the way I've experienced life. So now what do I do with all this information? Yeah, very subjective. So then it's taking the moment in time, and I use like heart math, for example, like a quick breathing technique. I'm not saying like box breathing or something right away to use, like to drop yourself into, I have to spend 5 minutes, the next 5 minutes breathing. It's like, no. Like even for this call, I did it by myself because I was nervous to do this. Sure. It's my first time, right? So sure. It's a matter of rewiring yourself, and a simple technique. So for example, you take either hand, you put it over your heart, right? And then take a deeper than normal breath. So just like an inhale and an exhale, and right there, your body has a sense of safety.
It drops, doesn't it? Yeah.
Right. And so it's almost like a tiny habit. So without going to the dynamics and all that stuff, it's taking your hand, placing it over your heart is a simple signal to the brain that I'm okay in this moment. Sure, you have thoughts and feelings. So now, okay, here I am. I'm safe. Everything's okay. And you're telling yourself, I'm safe, because your mind goes off in tangents of, will, death, everything, right? Anger, it all accumulates. However, with a simple movement, tells a signal to your brain that you're safe, your nervous system. And taking a deep breath, normal, deeper than normal, signals again the safety. So that's where I start with people, with my initial consultation, or whatever you want to call it, initial meeting. Yeah. And from there, it's a matter of, okay, here we are now. Where are you? So if, for example, here we are together, so I would ask you, what do you see around you? It's back to the senses, the sights, the sounds, what you hear, what you see. My tone may be off-putting for you, right? So if that's the case, then I'm not the right person to be talking to, because that's just going to stimulate your nervous system that, well, this guy's dangerous, or there's some kind of danger. I don't like what he's saying, or I don't like the way he's got a high forehead, the lines, and I just don't feel comfortable with him. So even though you do the nervous system regulation, there's that factor as well, right? And that's also for the partner to understand, because the person with the illness may so everything's off, right? Mentally as well. So maybe they snap, or they see their partner coming towards them, but they have they look angry, right? But they're just concentrating. But the person takes it as a signal of danger. What's wrong? Well, what are you looking at me like that for? And it's like, well, what do you mean you're looking at it? So you have to go kind of backwards and say, wait a minute, that person is just approaching me. So hand on the heart, deep breath. Okay, what am I seeing? That person's coming towards me, my wife, whomever it is. Is she safe? I know she's safe. Okay, so I'll ask. So you ask her, say, "Oh, I noticed your face looked angry," and then the other
Mm,
person says, "Oh, no, I'm just concentrating because I have to do whatever." And then it's just there's a solution to the problem.
mm,
It's not because people jump right to assumptions right away. They see something or they hear a tone and they're like, "Oh, the person's angry," or "I did something wrong," and then that's based on past experiences. So it's a matter of one deep breath, learning how to ground yourself. Then what are you dealing with? What is the actual situation in the moment, not the projecting moment, the moment at hand, which is hard. I mean, this is easy to say. My gosh,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
to be in the moment, it's hard because you're not there. Because all right, your initial reaction is based on your past history. So if you initially react to the person approaching you has an angry face and you're like, what are you, in anger, that's automatic. However, you can correct yourself by a hand on the heart, relax. And that little moment, it might be that pause you need not to react to that person.
yeah. Because I mean, I didn't really think about it, in the past, but couples already come to a diagnosis of a chronic condition with pre-existing communication style issues,
Exactly.
history. So that's already there, and then this third party comes in and gets involved, and it's a very significant third party. There's grief involved. There's, like you say, they go through the 7 stages of grief and all that sort of thing.
Right.
And that's on both parties, and the patient and the carer have different experiences with that grief.
Exactly. Exactly. Because nobody's done that before. You didn't go to school and take a course on grief and how to deal with it. What happens if a partner gets chronic illness? What if you get chronic illness? What if you have to take care of this person? It's sudden. It's like all of a sudden you're rolling along, you know, 25, 30 years or sooner. And then boom, this event occurs. It's like, oh my God, what book do I get? Oh, there is none. Oh, let's go to Dr. Google and find one,
Yeah,
or now with AI, it's like, well, what does the chat GPT say, right?
yeah, yeah.
And sure, the information is there. However, it's actually being with another person, that relationship, the safety to work through it, to understand. Yeah, sure, I can read about that. Oh yeah, my parasympathetic nervous system is in a ventral vagal state right now. I feel safe. Oh wait, that's life threatening. I'm going to go in a parasympathetic and a dorsal. It's like, no, that's not how it works, right?
No, no,
you're either
exactly.
you're either tense, relaxed, we're kind of in the middle, right? But it's to learn that. You can read it all you want, but it's to experience it with another person.
And so how do you, because quite often, the relationship has just been bubbling along, and then all of a sudden, and it is a sudden diagnosis. I mean, diagnosis doesn't, the first part of it anyway, doesn't creep up on you. Once you get a diagnosis, then there's a period of time, hopefully a little longer, sometimes shorter, etc. But that first moment, what are the general simple rules of couple communication? Because they may already come with pre-existing issues, and then all of a sudden, whammo, and then you know, nuclear explosion, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. It's the past histories of each individual. And that's why it's important to have that initial meeting separate to find out what's going on, right? As to, well, did you have adverse childhood experiences? Did you have some kind of trauma before? Was your life, were your parents a certain way? How did you grow up? So it's taking that information and doing like a history. So now you're really going backwards to learn about yourself, where you are now, to deal with this new information. Because if there was a trauma in the past, you're going to react the same way as you did in the past, because that's how you're
Mm,
wired. Right? That's how your
mm,
nervous system is. It
mm,
doesn't know anything better. It doesn't know another way to say, oh, well, yeah, put my hand on my heart, take a deep breath and think about my values and move forward. No, you're reactionary. So it's a matter of accepting that. So you go through the anger, you go through everything, and it sucks. It's awful. And then it's a matter of, okay, now I'm at a point where all that's come out, I'm exhausted because, well, yeah, we could still cry or experience anger, but maybe it's a lower level from the initial assessment. And now it's a matter of, well, what do I do now? I know I have to take XYZ medication or go for certain treatments. But now what do I do to get myself in a calmer state, the best you can based on your past history? So each individual, the caregiver as well, has to do the same thing. So that's why, like you said before, it's an up and down thing. It's not a straight line.
No, exactly. That's right. And I imagine also that there's a bit of identity involved, as in a couple come into a diagnosis with a certain identity, and then all of a sudden that identity gets ripped into pieces. And certainly for the patient, I know from my own experience and also from my wife's experience that there are two identities, and how do you deal with that change? Because that could be significant as well.
Right. And that's the thing. You just hit the nail on the head. Is recognizing that you're now recreating your relationship. The two eyes are going to become separated. So, as you go along merrily, you kind of have two separate eyes and you're a couple and everything's going along. Then all of a sudden, boom, this diagnosis and you get separated. So now it's a matter of, okay, recognizing each individual's roles, identity, like you said, and just realize that there's going to be a change and accept that. It's a matter of acceptance as well, right? It's to accept this new identity. It's not to fight it. It's a matter of, it's there. It sucks. I recognize it. Okay, what do I have to do? I want to live a happier, or I want to live a pain-free, as much as a pain-free existence, or extend my existence. Okay, what do I have to do? Well, I have to accept that this is going to happen. This is happening. I can't think it away. I can't wish it away. It's accepting it and then going towards values. And every time you reach a certain point, a choice, it's going towards the new values. You're hooking yourself towards something new, and recognizing that you still have whatever role it may have been there, and letting your mind know and say, thank you for that. It was great that you reminded me that I had this role. However, I'm now in this new situation and I'm moving forward this way. So it's, again, reminding your nervous system that you're safe in this new role, no matter how many times your mind's going to say, no, this is where I'm at. Why are you doing this? What's going on? It's almost like you have different personalities. We all have different personalities. My personality here on this live show is different from before I got on, right? I, was outside. I was Ken in the garden walking around the property, and now I'm like talking to you. And before that, I was like Ken with my wife, and it makes me as the whole person. So now it's a matter of recognizing, well, here's Ken with a diagnosis or whomever. How does that interplay with myself? It's like, yeah, it sucks. However, I choose to go in a new direction. I choose to accept it and see where it takes me. And again, not easy. These are easy words for me to say. It's easy for somebody to look it up, but it's actually doing the work to move themselves forward. It's nice to talk about it and read about it, but in the individual, when they have to do the work, that's the tough part, because you not only have your own identities, you have the identity of the other person that you're married to, your caregiver, your spouse, whatever role you choose to identify with. And you can, in couples, they're dynamic, right? I mean, it's not, you're a couple. Well, we can turn this into something not as tragic. Like, okay, so you're the caregiver. Let's come up with a different name for caregiver, and whatever suits that couple, whatever word they Google, it comes up with words, or the person themselves. A diagnosis. Well, what is there another word that you can come up with? No, okay, well, identify this way, and maybe it's a little bit easier to get through that part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. And it is about redefinition for sure. And then when we start moving towards, so we've had the diagnosis and now we're starting to move into a space of not status quo, but, things are starting to settle down. We're starting to move forward. And now we're having to align and, find some way to make this go for the long term. Chronic illness often leads to a brutal reallocation of personal resources. So how can a couple stop competing over who is more tired or more stressed and start aligning so that they are heading in some sort of common direction?
So I'm pausing because I have like a comical answer and I have like a
Okay, let's
serious
have the comical answer. Honestly, I mean,
So
I've seen and
it's
heard it
like
all. Let's have it.
it's almost like, yeah, well, this is how it's going to go. It sucks, but let's buckle up and let's move forward. Like there's no getting around this. So what are we going to do?
And
It's
that's a great pragmatic way. I mean, to be honest, as a
like really, what are we going to do?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, but how do they then go about sort of divvying up their personal resources? Is there a communication piece they can use?
I wish there was. I'd make $1 million. I wish I had a 3-step program that said, "Hey, all you have to do is this." But no, it's constant communication. It's constant realigning yourself. So, for example, so you said, you're going to kind of move yourself forward, essentially, right? And so, what do you guys hope for? What does a couple hope for? What do they see their future as? Um, maybe there's if, depending on the illness, right? There could be somebody could be in a wheelchair bound, right? So, okay, well, how is that going to land? Um, and what I meant by comical ways, okay, now I'm going to get my exercise pushing you around, right? Type of thing. But I mean, this is after. This is not like right away. Say this is
No,
not
no, no, no. Yeah,
right
totally.
away. But I mean, down the road, once this is all in place, it's like, really, I have to get your chair again? Like, come on, can't you? Like, really? Just give yourself the meds. Come on already. But you make it's lighthearted.
Yeah.
And that's the way to kind of get around it, because sometimes the person, they say the words and it's kind of a serious thing. However, you kind of accept that it's okay. This is where we're at. However, yeah, let's have the argument. Let's spew it all out, and then let's move forward from this. Because let's say we want to go on a road trip or whatever. Well, we have to accommodate. We have to bring XYZ meds or whatever it may be. You might have to walk at a slower pace, a cane or walking sticks or whatever it may be. And then again, you're at a slow pace. It's like, can't you pick it up a notch? Like, come on already. Really?
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing this for 25 years already. Like, what's going on, right? It's just this. Come on, you can do it. But again, it's not, that's the lighthearted part of it. But to get to that point, there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of testing the waters and just don't want to hurt the other person or whatever. And again, it's recognizing this is what's happening. These are my values. This is where I stand, and being honest with each other. And if there's ever like a little glimmer of dissatisfaction or something, it's got to be dealt with right away. It's not like, well, this event, so that angry face or whatever. Instead of keeping it inside, it's dealing with it as it happens. Because if you keep it inside, it'll just come out later in a not so friendly, nice way, right? So it's dealing with those perceptions that each person has at the moment. And again, easy to say, it's hard to do, because the natural tendency is to keep it in, don't want to hurt the other person because I love them so much.
So somewhere I read in your Substack that you talk about calming reactive conversation.
Did I?
Yeah. So I'm guessing that's a sort of a shared language. But is there anything in amongst that might have a benefit or a use to sort of set some common grounds or some rules, let's say, some conversation rules or relationship rules?
It's more of the relationship rules of something new that has to be worked on, given all the information that you have before you, right? All the information that you had in the past, because you're creating something new, right?
Mm.
That's why it's so complicated, right? Like I'm even
Very.
having art. I wish I had the article I wrote. No, because it's very complicated. It's easy to write a certain thing like that. However, there's a lot behind it. Um, like you said, rules. It's a new, you call it the new communication rule, or however you want the couple wants to uh, define it. Because like now I'm thinking like it's you take all the information that you had in your past up to this point. Now you're making new rules and they're changing, they're evolving. It's organic, right? It's not static. It's not like I said before, where I wish I had a 3 set rules and you do this, this, and this. Sure, the heart over the hand over the heart is it works wonders for the beginning. So that then what do you do? Because you're still going to have all these thoughts and things going along, right? So it's organically readjusting as you go along to make out your plan that works best. And then once you get something down pat, that'll change too.
Mm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right. One of our viewers here has got an interesting point, and Patty Wallen, who's in Florida. I keep saying sorry, Patty, lost in San Diego in California. I keep thinking the other side of the state. But anyway, she was saying that illness brings on the potential of each partnership.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So that's a very positive and interesting way to perspective. Can you talk to that perspective a little?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not only with chronic illness, it's with any relationship, because you come in separately and you have that honeymoon period, everything's working out, and then all the little glitches happen. And then it's the communication part. It's listening to what the other person is saying. And it usually starts off, well, this doesn't work out. I think we should go talk to somebody because our communication's off, right? So then because we didn't have a manual when we before getting married, usually it's like, hey, let's get married because hey, we get along great. Yeah, it sounds great, fun. And then all of a sudden, well, why didn't you load the dishwasher that way, or why did you pick up the trays? What do you mean it's my turn to walk the dog? Like, what are you talking about, right? So it's these little things that add up, and it's to during the relationship, it's so that when those words happen, it's like I said before, just trying to address them as they happen, right? Well, what do you mean I didn't load it correctly? Well, you should be, so the words should, right? You should, so then it's defensive. It's more like,
Yeah.
well, um, have you ever thought about trying it this way? Because you might get more dishes in there. Oh, okay, right? Well, I'll give it a shot. Not the, so then all the words are have to be kind of analyzed as well, right? So, and even couples don't even know when they're doing it. So sometimes it's a matter of, okay, you guys put your phone on and videotape yourselves and see what happens, right? It's awkward at first, however, eventually it reveals a lot. Just like
Mm.
for this, right? After it's done, I'll look at the thing and I go, oh my God, why did I look that way? Why is my ring light in my glasses, right? Like, so whatever. Why is my head tilted this way, not this way? So it's the same thing in relationships, right? Is
Yeah.
you got to recognize when it's happening and not let it sit. And it's almost so people go to work, right? They have whatever role they are, they deal with lousy clients, they deal with colleagues that are not so hot. However, they manage to get through that. And they go home, it's like that all goes out the window and they're like, what do you mean you did this? What? And they're raising their voices, yelling at each other. It's like, well, where did the client perspective go? Like, why are you treating your significant other like different? Like it should be more loving because, you're married to them. Uh, you treat a client sometimes better or in a management situation better than your spouse or partner, whatever.
And for the carer, Titan, because obviously when there's a chronic diagnosis, the subject is the person with the condition, and they get a lot of attention. But what I've found in the discussions that I've had is that the carer feels like they have to be strong 24/7. They have to be the one who holds the fort and keeps the whole thing moving forward, especially in cases where they have maybe, they're a younger family and, they have children involved and so on, or even without children, it could be a situation that the carer hasn't had that role in the past in the relationship, and now all of a sudden they've got to, cover all these other bases that they never had any experience in before. How does a carer align their own needs with that sort of a situation and still have that communication piece happening?
They take their stethoscope that I've suggested that they wear all the time and take it off when they have that conversation with the individual who has the illness, right? And that's what it exactly is. It's the stress and everything. It's communicating to the other person that I'm done. I can't. I'm maxed out. It's too much for me, right? And then having that conversation that okay. And again, it's easy to say. It's having that conversation with the individual who has a diagnosis, letting them know that you just can't do it anymore, and cry it out, yell it out. However it is with that person in the situation, because then the other person can recognize and say, yeah, I know it sucks. This is awful. And then they're accepting, okay, this is where we are. This is how it's going. It really sucks. How can we problem solve this? How can we, do we have the finances to bring somebody else in to provide respite for the caregiver type of thing, or whatever stage it's at, right? Or maybe it's just a matter, it was just a conversation that they needed to have, but it's having that conversation and whatever that brings with it, with the anger and the sadness. And then they put the stethoscope back on, well, their very way, right? So
it seems that from what you're saying that it's about sort of not hiding things and bringing the stuff out and just really, sharing the emotions, sharing the moment, sharing the grief and so on. Is that the case?
Exactly, because no matter how old the person is when they get this diagnosis, you have X amount of years left. And how do you want to have those X amount of years? Do you want them in pain and arguing, or do you want to have a really good, as best you can, positive relationship for the remaining years? And this is how you do it. It's addressing things up front like you've never done in the past. Or maybe you have a little bit, but now it's gone to the extreme. So it's being upfront, letting the other person know where they're at, and experiencing it all, whether it's the sadness, the anger, or the happiness and the joy, right? Like when you're joyful, experience that as well, right? Because there's a limited amount of time. And I mean, my gosh, we all have a limited amount of time on this earth, right? However, when you're given something that kind of cuts it a little bit shorter than you anticipated, man, oh man, what do you do with that, right? And you, especially in a relationship, you got to be in tune with each other, right? Like if you like with anything, like launching a rocket, for example, it takes like a bazillion different people to make that event happen. It's the same. All that communication has to happen in order for that relationship to take off, or just be steady or manageable.
It is. It's a very interesting scenario. I mean, I've got incurable, irreversible, severe heart disease, and so there's a time frame. My vascular system is the same age as my parents, who are in their mid 80s. And yet I'm in my late 50s. So, there's that whole dynamic that's going on all the time. So it is. You're absolutely right. It's about enjoying the moment because, look, we're all going to die at some stage, but some of us are just going to go a little quicker than others, and as hard as it is, the focus I have is not on lifespan. The focus I have is on health span. So, being as fit and as healthy as I can and, all those things. And it actually works together. Like my wife and I are the fittest and healthiest we've ever been because the diet has changed. We haven't had alcohol for 8 years or something. I think something like that. All those sort of things. The whole dynamic changes, which which is fantastic.
It
I
does.
see Lara's come in. She's dropped in, just dropping in to check it out, and she's enjoying the conversation. So that's great. So once you go from decoding the situation and then aligning to sort of a status quo and that constant growth phase that we go through, how do you then move to the relationship thriving in that situation? Because thriving and aligning are two different things. So aligning is just surviving through the activity.
Right.
But thriving is actually growing from it and enjoying it and, and getting success out of life in the situation.
Right. And you just said it. It's recognizing that what's our future look like? How's this gonna be for us moving forward? And it's the growth part, the growth stage. It's this is what do we want to do for the next X amount of years, whatever it may be. It could be like for the next 6, could be the next 3 months, could be 6 months, a year, whatever. But it's having that hope to be able to do these events or just be with each other and cuddle on the couch to watch TV or look at a fire or if you have a fireplace. I'm not saying burn the house down, but if you have a fireplace.
I live in the tropics, so fireplaces are not a thing. Air conditioning.
Oh, well, there we go. Yeah, so tropical. Okay, cool. Yeah, so
give me that hum, dear.
I thought we didn't have enough going on. I thought I just light the place on fire, see how this goes. Getting outside, if you can. I mean, and even just looking at tropical. Where are you located? Whereabouts?
I'm in Brisbane, Australia.
Brisbane,
so
okay.
yeah. So
yeah.
It's just hot all the time.
Right. Our son lives just outside of Brisbane.
Oh yeah, lovely.
But we haven't visited anyway. So yeah, so it's going outside or sitting on the porch or whatever, enjoying the moment together, and that's. So then your nervous systems are together, right? Because you're safe, you feel safe, and you want to be with that person, and that's the happiness and the thriving to go past the alignment. So once you get through all, in only 3 short days, you just get through all that stuff. No, wait, hold on. In only 40 minutes, you can get through all this stuff, and then you can start thriving. Whatever amount it takes, we both are separate, come together, then you experience alignment. Now it's the future. How are we going to do this as a couple, and how are we going to grow together from this point? And it might be the most beautiful thing ever because maybe these things you took for granted before, or whomever took it for granted before, and now it's meaningful, and then you make the best you can out of the time you got, right?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. The other perspective that that I have tended to take with the condition itself or the conditions is that health is an occupation. So that then also reframes the conversation around the condition possibly as well. I speak I think I dedicate a whole chapter to it actually in my book, but I didn't think of it this way, but maybe that language is actually something that then when couples are talking, they can go, okay, we're in the occupational side of this condition as opposed to the relationship side. Is that a possibility?
Anything. Yeah. And so it works for the couple, right? There's not one set rule. Like a couple might say, no, I don't want to talk about that. Look at it as an occupation, and that's fine. Well, what are you going to do instead? Well, I'm going to talk about it as a separate entity from me, and then I'm going to, be thriving after that. However, some people like a system, like you just mentioned, like a health aspect, and that's great, and that's what makes sense for that couple, right? That's why relationships. There's no 7-step solution.
No, that's right.
It's impossible with your condition. With anybody's, somebody will have a different one, and they say, "Oh, well, that makes sense." It's not working, so they try it. So it's not working for me. Okay, so what are you going to come up with next? what are you going to do differently, or how are you going to make it work for yourself? And using different words too. Like not everybody uses the same words or feels comfortable with them. So yeah, I wish there was a, you said way back earlier, the 7 steps of grief, right? Yeah, sure, there's 7 steps. However, you're going from 1 to 7, then all of a sudden there might be a 9. Where did the 9 come from? 9 wasn't written down, right? So it's the same thing in relationships. You have a certain pattern that we follow, and then, oh shoot, look what happened here. Well, how do we bring ourselves back, right?
Mm. In your Substack, you talk about having a systemic approach because, like you were saying, having a set perspective and a set way of going about something puts limitations that may not work in that situation, or there might be an extra step that all of a sudden just turns up. Now, what's your perspective in terms of taking a holistic or a systemic approach and thinking about the whole system as the relationship, the condition, the life, the everything, in terms of allowing that to thrive as a couple?
Good question, first of all.
When my guests pause for a bit, it's like, oh, I've got them here.
Yeah, well, because I get barraged in my head with the 5,000 different things I want to say.
Yeah.
And I relate it to nature, right? I go back and, I live in Canada and Ontario, and I wish I had palm trees and such. However, we go through the different seasons, and you do too, right? You have your winters and the thing. Yeah. But
cool up.
right. But there's an initial. So now you're in summer, then you're going to be heading into fall soon, and then into your winter, and then it's almost the same as in a relationship, or however you want to look at it. The system is summer, spring, winter, fall, and what happens in each of those systems? Well, in winter, everything usually gets dormant, right? So we as human beings have a dormant phase, and it might be during the winter time. However, the dormant phase might be brought on by a diagnosis. You go inwards, you cocoon yourself into safety. You're not, flourishing at the present time. So then what's the next system? Well, maybe it's spring or summer, or however it works for that particular relationship or that a couple. So I like to parallel things using nature as a system because it's most relatable. People understand that, oh yes, summertime, everything's great, everything's growing, and look at the pretty flowers and things like that. And then, well, now I'm getting ready. It's fall time. Things are kind of changing color. Well, how am I going to adjust to this? And then it's going quiet, and then back to spring. Well, things are coming alive again. So it's the same with relationships. You come in great in the summertime kind of mood. You get together, everything's a party, and then then you realize, oh my gosh, you don't empty the dishwasher, fill the dishwasher properly. Oh, that's a fall color. It's like things are kind of going mixed up, and then they're at each other. And now we're in winter because, well, they're at me all the time. They take this out or clean this up or whatever chore it is, and then they have the conversation maybe, and then the springtime's coming up. Oh yeah, we did this in winter and it didn't work out very well, but we learned something new, and now you're going to flourish again and move forward and get into the summer mode. So it's almost cyclical, I think. Okay, so yeah, I think we're part of the earth.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, absolutely.
Really, when you mention holistic, and it's everything. It's from the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we swim in, the sounds we hear, the birds, whatever. Hopefully not a crocodile that's chasing you or something, a shark or something in water. However, it's all related from so you have the soil, which is your nutrients, which is the food you eat, and you want to make that. And as you alluded to before, your diet has changed. You're not ingesting alcohol before, so there's a change. So now what are you doing, and how you're nurturing yourself, and how's your body reacting? Because for chemicals, right? I mean, I could go on a tangent with, the biology part too. However,
Mm-hmm.
but we're a holistic system, and
Yes.
however the couple relates to whatever season they're in, that seems to work for themselves, understand it a little bit better.
Mm. And one of the things I've found just through my own experiences is that small is powerful as well. So,
Yeah.
on the one hand, we've got this holistic perspective, systems view on life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but then if you try and approach all of it at once, so functional health is all about mind, body, and soul, and that interaction. But the dynamic harmony of things, you've got to just attack them in small bites. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Just like when a couple comes to me, it's not, here's your mountain of information, go deal with it. No, it's
Mm,
attacking it in little bites, the little step by step, right? I mean, my gosh, we learned how to walk. We fell down. We got back up, right? We learned in little steps. It wasn't like, well, you're born now. What's wrong with you? You're 6 months old. Why aren't you walking now already? Like, well, no, it's little by little we learn and we take our first step and you move forward. And then if something occurs during a diagnosis, it's like, okay, got to take a little step here. Okay, maybe I can't have, I don't know, McDonald's, Big Macs and stuff like that, processed food. So I have to kind of change. So, oh, that sucks. Okay, I'll have a little bite of a French fry from somebody else, but then I'm gonna, take a little step and have a salad and see how this works and kind of replace them bit by bit. Right? You're not
yeah,
this hard. I mean, sure, you can go cold turkey and change everything in one fell swoop, but it really doesn't stick. It's like the hand on the heart, deep breath, grounded. And it's the same thing, a little step. That's what it takes to move forward.
absolutely. And so if we're in that thriving space, and I've got a concept called the knife edge of time, which is about now. So you experience life in this moment. This
Mhm.
conversation right now that we're having right now, that's our life right now.
Yep. Yep.
And what is happening in the future, nobody knows about. What happened in the past, nobody can change. So, anything that you're doing is right here, right now. That's your life, this millisecond of this knife edge of time. So if we take that perspective, how do we live now as a couple and not continue to go back? Because basically communication with couples is a lot about the past, isn't it? And the
Sure.
past is totally changed now because
Yeah.
the future is completely something unexpected. So how would couples then? What sort of language or approach could couples take to be living now into a positive, or to a future that's going to benefit the two of them?
The couple, each individual will always have the past nattering at them every day. And it's a matter of accepting that that's going to happen. And that's what the past was. And just say to yourself, like leaves on a stream, that's a thought. It's going by. It's not happening. Present is the now. And on the heart, ground yourself. This is where I am. Thanks, mind, for firing off these past ideas. But wait, I'm moving in the future because we discussed what we want to do for the future. So I'm going to unhook myself, move towards hooking myself to my new values and my new perspectives. But thanks, mind. It'll always chatter at you.
Mm.
And it's accepting and then committing to moving forward in a different direction. And that's the choice. You have a choice. There's situations, thoughts, and feelings. You have the choice to either hang back. And I mean, it's fine. Hang back, wallow. However, know that that's what it was in the past. However, this is what the future is. This is what we've discussed. It'll be a little bit harder. However, it'll be happier for ourselves. We'll thrive a little bit better, knowing that the past was like this. It's almost like if you have a pet and then that pet passes away, and then it's devastating. Initially, it's devastating. However, as time goes on, you never forget that memory because it'll always be there of that particular pet. Same thing, you have that life happens and it'll always remind you, just like the pet, but over time, it gets a little bit easier. I never say to anybody, you'll never think about it again, or just do these 5 whatevers and it'll help you move forward. Some people, maybe it'll work. However, the people that generally I speak with, it's accepting the situation and committing to some new value or new future or goal.
Mm. Well, that's fantastic, Ken. I've actually sort of got a. I don't have any other questions because I've come to that full sort of perspective of what we've been talking about, and we've really moved forward through that process. But I wonder if anybody else has any questions here. Let's have a look here. Are there any questions from the audience?
I'll wipe the sweat off my forehead.
Yeah, absolutely, Ken. You've done a great job. You've done a fantastic job.
Thanks.
That looks like we're good. So, well, Ken, thank you very much for spending the hour with me. That was a lovely discussion, and what you bring to relationship counselling. You've been doing this for how long? For quite a while, I'm assuming.
Well, 25 years. However, I did get a late start. It wasn't until my late 30s that I entered social work and therapy. So, yeah.
And
been
has
fun.
it always been in Windsor or elsewhere?
No, it's been Windsor. I'm originally from Montreal, Quebec. Moved here, the Windsor area, a few years ago. Didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, lovely. Well, Ken, thank you very much for your time. It's been absolutely fantastic to go through that pace with couples, and I really appreciate your jumping on at such. It was only sort of in the recent couple of weeks that I shoulder tapped you, so thank you for that.
You're welcome, Paul. And man, this is great. I really enjoyed myself. And
excellent.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you to the various viewers that have turned up and enjoyed the recording. So what happens now is that this recording will then get edited. I never cut them down. I just add a bit front and back, and then we'll focus a week around Ken's interviews for those people watching. So that's in the Substack notes and also the newsletter for the week, etc. coming forward. So.
Awesome.
Check back in a couple of weeks' time and you can get some more of Ken going forward. Thank you, everybody. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.